Hey, what's up? This is Gary from Raz Rentals. And today is an exciting, eventful day. Do you know why? Because I got to talk about the brand new Super 7 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ultimates Wave 5 Ray Fillet. Man, this guy, I've really been looking forward to this guy since he was originally announced. The original Ray Fillet came out in 1990. He comes in a vast assortment of colors. This one right here changes color if you put him in water. As a kid, I never had him. But I was jealous of everyone that did, you know? Like, who the hell didn't want a super muscular Manta Ray man to kick the shredder right in the face? Luckily, things weren't all bad for me, though, because I had the Adventures comics to tide me over until I could get old enough to buy my own Ray Fillet action figure. So enough with the stalling, let's get this review going. This Ray Fillet was released within the past month, the month of October, in the year of 2022. 32 years after the original. Man, I am old. He was originally put up for pre-order, I think back in May or April of 2021, which means he took about 17 to 17 and a half months to be released, which is crazy. This Wave 5 was the longest wave of Ultimates to be released. The super long wait wasn't the worst part of it, no. The worst part of this wave was the price increase. Starting with Wave 5, these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Ultimates went up $10, from $45 to $55. Ouch. You know, I think Ray Fillet is a larger figure than some of the other guys in this line, which, you know, hopefully will make up for some of that cash. I'm just glad Super 7 didn't decide to charge us, you know, like $65 for him. Thank goodness. So Ray Fillet comes packed in this brown mailer, just like all the other Ultimates. It doesn't have anything, you know, too cool on it. You know what mint on card people should start doing? Is they should have like their favorite artists draw sketches of the characters on these brown cardboard boxes. I came up with that idea. I'm copywriting it. Now, when you open this box up, you have more packaging to battle inside. First, you must deal with Sir Plastic of Bag. He's a slippery fella. You know, you try to grab onto him, your hand goes all over the place. You know, he does his best to keep his grip on the treasure inside, but you can easily defeat him. If you can't do it by hand, you can do it by blade. Oh! That's right, you bastard. Get out of here. Next, you must face the Green Lord of Slipcovers. Now, this foe is a tricky foe to fight. He'll hypnotize you with his cool green color and trick you into thinking that you've already reached your prize when you look at this manhole on the cover. It looks like Ray Fillet, but it's just an illusion. This is not the toy you seek. Only the front cover will catch your eye, though. On the back, there's nothing special, just a Ninja Turtle logo, one contents, one figure, and accessories, and the Super 7 logo. Once you overcome the Green Lord's evil trance, he can easily be dealt with. You hear that sound? That's the sound of victory. But just when you thought it was over, your amazing treasure is still encased, imprisoned in plastic and cardboard. This guy is very, very cool looking. You know, first of all, I like the color. I like that the blue of his skin tone, and I don't know, everything about this guy looks pretty awesome. I just hope when I open him up, he is as good. I know some of the Wave 5 figures so far have had some loose joint problems. Krang, especially, was the one I looked at where his knees and his ankles just kept on giving up. So hopefully this guy won't be too hard to pose, you know, and he won't just start falling over all the time. I love this little guy too. He looks pretty. He looks so crazed. That little dude's name is Fish Sticks, by the way. But yeah, just looking at this guy, he's very, very impressive, very cool. The good guys in this line come packaged in green brick packaging. On the back, it has a nice description of Ray Fillet. It reads, Ray Fillet, the fist-fighting fish. You smell something fishy? That's because you just picked up Ray Fillet, the coolest sea creatures who ever leap from the deep. Spawned from a marine biologist and a manta ray, Ray Fillet emerged from a toxic sewer pipe only to discover he'd become super strong and super slimy. He's a foot-fighting fish who helps the turtles when they're in deep trouble. Underwater, that is. Aquatically assisted by fish sticks, Ray Fillet filters out crime from the coral reef. Very, very exciting. So, I shouldn't waste any more time. It is now time for me to open this guy up, move him around, look for any problems that could be found. Hopefully, everything's copacetic, and I won't have to complain too much about this guy. So, I will talk to you in a second. So here he is, free from the package, and boy, my manta ray's all right. Well, mostly. Like visually, I think this guy is a masterpiece. Like a perfect upgrade of that original Playmates action figure from back in the day. Like, I absolutely love the color. This wonderfully bright, eye-catching aqua. I even like it better than the original Ray Fillet. And the muscle groups on this guy just look fantastic. Like, everything is so fully formed and detailed. Like, the original Ray Fillet, like, he was built, he had a lot of muscles, but he's also a little, like, soft, nothing's too defined. Here, everything is, like, to the extreme. Like, I was looking at the leg muscles earlier, and I was just thinking, like, man, like, when you're, like, drawing pictures of muscular guys, you're like, I could use this as a reference, because the leg muscles just look great, Not to mention, like, the veins on the hands and the arms and everything, they're, like, so subtle. They look very realistic. Like, this guy really pops. I think both of his buddies are great, Scarfish and Fish Sticks. Like, the detail on those guys just look great. And there's a lot of other really nice accessories here. A really cool weapons rack, and I really love that gold rope attached to that anchor. That just looks so, like, swanky and nice. There's only one spot on the sculpt that sort of throws me off a little bit, and I guess I'll touch on that a little bit when I get into the side-by-side comparison, but I guess I'll just say it right now. This seam right here on his neck, it can be a little too noticeable in my opinion, but, like I said, I'll show a close-up of that later on. So like I said, visually, this guy is just fantastic, and of course, we're going to take a very close look at this guy next to the original. I'm going to talk about how they made this guy even better than the original guy. Like, the textures are fantastic. But before I do that, I have to talk about the articulation. You see, the last Ultimates review I did was Krang, and somebody was like, man, it took you like 34 minutes just to get to articulation. I'm like, well, yeah, but I did like the side-by-side comparison of the new versus the old and stuff like that. That always takes a long time. But I do have to admit that there were some problems with that Krang articulation that maybe I didn't stress enough. So it's probably important for me, before I really go into the detail here, pointing out the major flaw with this guy. All right, so the last Ultimates review I did was Krang, all right? And when I opened this guy out of the box, I noticed that this one hip joint was loose, but all the other ones were pretty good. The knees were good, the ankles were good. This hip was actually pretty decent to begin with. But as I made my video, just slowly, all of the joints in the legs just started to give out, all right? They just became super loose to the point where I would just, move him very casually, and he would just collapse. Like, the ankles and the knees just kind of started giving out on me, all right? So at first, the problem just wasn't that noticeable. Like, I tried to show in that video how I would try to pose him sometimes and he would just fall over. So with Ray Fillet here, what I tried to do was, instead of shooting a video all in one day, I actually opened this guy up a couple days. Actually, it's been like a week already. But I've had him sitting on my desk, and I've just kind of been moving him around, putting him in different poses as I've been sitting there doing things. Trying to give him some wear and tear, to see how much the joints would loosen up. Much like Krang, right out of the box, his one hip was loose, all right? But as I was moving around, some of the other leg joints became even more loose. This one hip is actually still pretty good so far, so, I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. All the joints up top are actually pretty decent. You know, they're pretty stiff. I think there was another Ultimates action figure, but I can't remember who it was, where like if you put the weapon in his hand, his arm would just start to droop down to the ground, which is very upsetting. I mean, the legs are bad because, you know, you want your guys to stand. You don't want to put like something underneath him to hold him in place or anything. You want him to be nice and sturdy. So I'm going to start at the top here and work my way down and talk about the joints. You know, we're doing articulation first instead of doing the comparison. So this guy has a ball joint in the base of his head, and there's also a big ball in the base of his neck, which I like it. You know, it's pretty stiff. It works pretty well. His head stays in nice spots. I do also should point out that like it seems like these Wave 5 figures have been notorious for having loose joints. But Wave 6 so far has been pretty decent. Like I have a Slash out of the box, and his leg joints have been pretty sturdy. You know, I haven't really had any problems with that so far. But all right, you could easily pop his head off to change his head, and you can see the big ball and the little ball inside. The shoulder joints are nice and stiff, but not too stiff. They swivel around, and there's also a hinge, which works well, you know. I got no complaints about that. The elbows, too, they swivel, and they have a hinge. These are still pretty stiff, you know, not too loose. He can hold his weapon up without his arm drooping down, which is nice. The wrists swivel, and they also have a hinge. So that is all good. He's got no upper torso articulation. He does have a cut at the waist here, so you can turn him. The pelvis here has like a vinyl overlay, which can kind of hinder the rotation a little bit. So like his articulation will be pretty limited. You know, it might be a little difficult getting him into some crazy action poses, especially since his upper body is so top heavy. All right, and now we get down to the hips, and here is the problem, right? Now this leg right here is extremely loose, all right? This one is pretty good. It stays in place, very nice. Moves forward, pretty stiff. This one is pretty stiff when you move it this direction too, which is nice. The hips have rotation right there too. That is all good. But the problem is, you know, that this hip joint is so loose that if I put him down on a smooth surface, like I had him down on my kitchen table when I was looking at him, he will just start to slide sometimes. You know, my table here that I usually do stuff is cloth, and that actually keeps his feet in place. But if you put him on a smooth surface, he will start to tilt. It is a problem. This knee is pretty decent, but it has a little bit of a looseness right here, right? This one is very loose. And you could actually feel like the ratchets or like the notches in here when you like just move it a little bit. But it's just the joint or the whatever is in there is not big enough to really catch those notches. So unfortunately, sometimes this hip will give out, or this knee will bend a little bit backwards. And he is, you know, like I said, he's top heavy, so he will tilt backwards a lot. The knees also swivel. The ankle joints are actually pretty decent on mine. They hinge, and there's also ankle rockers. Now, luckily, his feet are so big that actually helps keep him in place sometimes, you know, because if you have like little tiny feet, that might be easier for them to fall over, but these kind of keep him grounded a little bit. And I'll show you what it looks like to try to put this guy in a running pose. So you can put this guy in a running pose. I have his foot firmly planted on the ground, and the other foot is I have put him in a pose where his foot was completely off the ground, and you could actually get him supported by just this one foot. But here, this flipper is touching. You know, Ray Fillet is one of those characters where his design is no matter what, it's always going to cause you a problem, all right? Because the flippers are so big, it's going to be difficult to put him in, like, I don't know, certain poses. They're just going to get in the way, you know, it's just how it is. Not to mention his giant upper body, which is very heavy, is just going to make him tip over quite a lot. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just a little tough with this guy. Like, what are you supposed to do? Let's see if I can get him on one foot. There you go. All right, so I did get him in a running pose with 1 foot only on the ground, and that's holding pretty well. A lot of it is because the weight is like the leg is completely turned this way, you know, and it's kind of keeping in place there. I don't know, he's just one of those weird guys where it's like, you know, you would usually think of him being underwater, but you're not going to have like a water setup. You can kind of balance him on the flippers here to make it look like he was swimming until I knocked him over. Man, that was actually pretty decent too. There we go. I got it back. What else can I do with these guys? I mean, what kind of poses would you want Ray Fillet to be in? Like, what kind of fighter do you think Ray Fillet is? Do you think he's someone who kind of just hangs out in the back and shoots people with his gun? Or is he like a brawler, you know? Like, if I were him, like, he's got these small legs, but they are super jacked. They are super muscular. I would probably do a lot of kicking, you know? He's a swimmer, so his leg muscles should be pretty strong. And have you ever been hit by a flipper? Like, it hurts. You know, there was always that one stupid kid that would always kick you with their flippers because he would swim too close to you in the pool. Like, buddy, wear those in the ocean, not in this 5 foot deep by 10 foot wide above ground pool. I don't know. Let's move on to the original action figure Articulation. But like I said, it's... Visually, I can really vouch for this guy. I think he looks fantastic. But the articulation is just something I have to, you know, warn you about. Like it can be a problem. I also thought that maybe Ray Fillet was one of those guys who was meant to squat, kind of like Muckman or Baxter Stockman. I mean, the original Ray Fillet squatted, so why shouldn't he? But, you know, in my honest opinion, I kind of like the way he looks more whenever he's just standing straight up. I mean, here he looks like he's ready to attack, which is fine. You know, this is good for an action pose. But I also do think that this sort of makes him even less stable than standing straight up because the leg is kind of bent out further this way, which causes this leg to, you know, swing outward under the pressure of his giant body. And I almost forgot, and I would have forgiven myself if I would not have mentioned this. His tail is also articulated. Nifty. When compared to the brand new Ray Fillet, the original action figure has some pretty simple articulation. Simple, but good. The head completely rotates around like so. The shoulders rotate on one axis. Both arms have another point of rotation. This one is in the forearm. And this one is in the bottom of the bicep. So you can go like that. And then you just have ball joints for the hips. All right, so now let's take a look at this original Playmates Ray Fillet action figure next to the brand new Super7 Ultimates Ray Fillet. I think that they did a very good job of matching the original expression. It's not 100%, but I think it's close. You know, he's kind of got like this lopsided smile where like this part of the mouth goes up higher than it does over here. Not to mention this one eyebrow is lower on the eye, while this one is kind of sticking up. They did that pretty good. I would say that the original action figure is more, even more expressive, I guess. Like there's something about this that almost appears too perfect or something. But this one, I think because it was hand sculpted, there's a certain wonkiness to this that kind of gives it character, where this one might be a little more, I don't know, like bulbous or something. You could especially see it in the snout, like that's wider than this one. This one's a little skinnier. But, you know, this is just like my observation, I guess. Like, it looks perfectly fine. Like, I'm perfectly happy with how this guy looks. You know, he's still very, very dynamic and interesting to look at. I love the color of the eyes. You know, it matches like the original one did with the blue eyes. Then you have sort of like this orange color underneath the eyeball. You got that. You have like these eyelashes, or they're just like, I don't know, like a print on his like skin. The original one had those too. He's got all those. The smile looks good, although the smile's like one of those things where I kind of almost feel like the contrast of the smile is like so extreme compared to the rest of the body. Like the rest of the body is a little more subdued and everything, and then you just have like the brightest of whites next to the blackest of blacks. And obviously the original action figure had exactly that, but I don't know, it's just kind of sticks out a little bit, just a little. The brand new action figure, the wrinkles on top of the eyes are deeper, which is kind of nice. You know, that way you can actually make out some of these details. The original one was a little soft. These salaffic fins look really good. They match the original one. Even the print is pretty close to the original action figure. It has the same number of dots from old to new. Like, I like how Ray Fillet just has like this huge neck. It makes him appear more of like, you know, a manta ray, right? But on the brand new action figure, like he loses some of the width here. They kind of made it a little skinnier. And that's just because, you know, that's an articulation thing. Like you would have been able to get him to rock his head back nearly enough if he had that really fat neck like the original one has. So the thing that I was kind of talking about earlier that I think is like the only thing that kind of looks a little jarring with his sculpt, because everything else is really nice, you know, like all the joints and everything are cut almost perfectly, almost seamlessly, like everything lays on top of each other so well. But right here, this seam in the neck is just so noticeable, and I think some of that is because it's painted. Like you can tell that the upper torso, it was you know, made out of this yellow color, and everything else is painted on top of that. Now it is kind of noticeable on the original action figure too, right? But I don't know. That's the only thing where there's too much of a ledge. That side looks okay, but this one definitely there is more of a ledge there. You know, and that's just like I said, a minor nitpick. I don't know. The biggest problem I noticed is my Ray Fillet has a big scrape going across his neck. Very straight and goes right to the center here. And then you're not going to be able to see it, but there is like a fingerprint, a very faint fingerprint on the neck that you don't even really pay attention to if he's just standing like this because it's covered, but I know it's there. I absolutely love the detail in Ray Fillet's shirt. Like, look at all that texture. I don't know, what is his shirt supposed to be? I was thinking it was supposed to be like a surfer shirt or something like that, but then like the texture of it almost makes it look like, I don't know, like a sea spongy type of material. Is it supposed to be coral? I wasn't really sure, but you can see that the sleeves here, they have a zipper. The original one has the zipper too, and I don't know, I just like it. He is, like I said, he is very eye-catching. All the paint is very clean, and it just looks really nice. You know, it's a nice thick paint, so you don't see like the yellow underneath the white. And you know, they could have went with a few different shirts for Ray Fillet. Like you have this one right here with the blue V. I have another Ray Fillet that changes colors, and most of the times when you're not changing his colors, he appears very white, you know? So they could have went with that. Or there is another Ray Fillet where he has like a red V and a more of a maroon looking shirt. I want to get one of these Ray Fillets one of these days. I just haven't gotten to them yet. And I got this picture from TMNT which, you know, I go there all the time to learn about the Ninja Turtle action figures or to find some picture of some action figure that I don't have. It's a very, very good website, and I suggest you go check it out. So the original shirt had a nice texture too. It's just, you know, it's very soft, you know. The cracks and crevices aren't very deep and the peaks aren't as high as this one. There's just, I don't know, there's a lot of like unique pieces in here, which is nice. You know, it's not all uniform. Sometimes you have these big bubbles and then you also have little bubbles. Even if you look at the shape of the torso muscles, they very much match the original look. Like the original one, the muscles are a little faint, but they still look very similar to this brand new one, you know, as opposed to like, I don't know, like Rocksteady or Bebop, wherever they kind of made up new muscles. Here they really tried to match these, the original muscles. The arms on Ray Fillet are just fantastic. You know, this is like, his muscles just look great. The original one sort of has like this bony looking elbow that sticks out very far, but the brand new one doesn't have that. But his arm muscles are just so nicely sculpted. As I said before, it's just very interesting to, as an artist, to look at action figures sometimes, because it kind of helps you wrap your head around how muscles, fold into each other and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, this is kind of weird because his arm is rotating in a way that wouldn't happen in real life, but whatever. On this wrist here, you have a wristwatch. And that looks really nice too. It looks like there's some nice extra details in there. The original one was just a circle. Almost looks like a Super Mario coin. But this one is nice because you have like, it looks like you can see the clock face there, like it's white in the center. And the strap is really nice too. There's nothing special about the original wristwatch strap. It just kind of wraps around his wrist. There's nothing too cool. This one is nice because it actually has like a wristwatch buckle, and it has a bunch of holes for where your fitted holes for your wristwatch. With the original Ray Fillet action figure, I don't know if he's like his color has faded or changed over time. It's still a nice looking turquoise or something, but I just really like the color of Ray Fillet, and this brand new Ray Fillet. And there's just this really nice shading within the muscles that look good. Even his hands, like the veins on top of his hand just look really nice. Not to mention the knuckles. The details in the knuckles are great. And in the palm of the hand too, there's just these really nice wrinkles that you can see. That, the hand still looks very similar to the original hand. It just looks so much nicer. I don't know. It really bums you out when you get an awesome action figure like this, and like I said, you have those articulation problems. Because if you didn't have those articulation problems, he would just be amazing. I mean, again, look at this arm. I'm sure some of this is copied from the other side, but it looks great. Is it? Yes, it is. You can tell that the arm is mirrored from side to side because if you look at the t-shirt, the t-shirt has the same exact texture on both sides. But who's going to fault them for that? Ray Fillet has this very cool Manta Ray emblem on his belt. And the brand new one just looks so much nicer, so much more refined. Like, there's just some really nice details in there of that Manta Ray. You even can see the sting spine sticking out by the tail. It's very nice. The original one is good too, but it's simple. And I just really like the look of his belt too. Like, there's such a nice texture on that. It really stands out. And even his like swim trunks, the original ones are okay. They're very soft. So there really isn't much detail or wrinkles or anything like that. But the brand new swim trunks just look great. Like, the wrinkles look very practical. They look very practical how they're being pulled here. And then when you look at the legs, they just look great. Like, it really looks like this material is stretching on top of the muscles, these massive muscles underneath. The original Ray Fillet, his legs were pretty muscular too. But the muscles can be a little wonky and weird, like especially like this leg muscle looks way too far over to the right, like it should be over this direction. There's just certain ones in here that look like way too skinny. I don't know. They're just kind of strange. And then you have this brand new Ray Fillet, and it looks like the marine biologist that got mutated into Ray Fillet was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that, because these are just huge. Like, look at those. Those are amazing. You can tell that he's a really good swimmer because of his leg muscles, I guess. Again, you have a very nice shading within the muscles to really make them stand out. The knees look good. I don't think the knee flap is weird when you bend his leg. I think it still looks fine. And the back of the calves, those look pretty awesome too. It's, he is a very tricky action figure to look at because he's got these huge fins that kind of get in the way here, but here you can see it. You can see that his flippers are actually made out of black plastic, but they painted his heels. this blue color. I like that on the brand new flippers, they added this nice texture, because that very much does look like the bottom of a flipper. And in the front, it has the same green design where you have the green line coming down the middle, and the top of the flippers at the bottom are green. He's just such a cool action figure to look at. Like I said, if you look at the back of Ray Fillet, you can see his pectoral fins. And you know what's crazy about this is they've used the same exact design. You can see the same shapes appear on both pectoral fins almost perfectly. And if you looked at the like the original promo shots that Super 7 released whenever he was up for pre-order, they did not use the same pattern. You know, so it was cool. They must have decided to try to make him look as close to the original toy as possible. And that looks very nice, you know. The way they attach to the body is pretty cool. You know, they just kind of plugged into the back of the neck. The original one sort of has the same thing going on, but I don't know, it's just a little different. You know, some of the shapes and wrinkles and everything like that are sort of similar from Ray Fillet to Ray Fillet. And then you have the tail down at the bottom. You know, he doesn't have like a crazy design. You know, he's not like super detailed and have like all these weird things all over his body. But he just has a very cool, very striking appearance. And I think he would look, you know, awesome on your shelf. So while I was looking at Ray Fillet, I came to a realization. This forearm right here is built off of the forearms used with the Ninja Turtles. A lot of the muscle groups are the same, although you can see they altered it a little bit towards the joint. The vein is even in the same spot. And it also looks like the bicep area is kind of the same, only like beefed up a little bit, you know. There are certain creases here that are included on the original Raphael. Not to mention the legs. The leg muscles look almost the same, except it doesn't have like this this like wrinkling here. And the legs are pretty much the exact same thing, only beefed up a little bit. You can see the muscles are pretty much the same exact way. So, interesting. Just thought I should point that out. The brand new Super 7 Ultimates Ray Fillet is a monstrous mountain of a manta ray. He looks just like the original action figure, and in some ways, better. Visually, I couldn't be happier with him. You know, the paint is nice and clean. The shading on the muscles really make them pop. I mean, this dude looks like he could arm wrestle Arnold Schwarzenegger and win. I've always said that I don't mind toys with limited articulation. Like, sometimes you get action figures and they have tons of joints, and it just ruins the overall aesthetic, you know. Ray Fillet here, his joints are pretty minimal, and they're sculpted so well that they almost appear flush with the rest of the body, like he's like a mini living character, and I like that a lot. And Ray Fillet is like such a big, powerful dude. Like, you don't need like, I don't know, 30 points of articulation. Like, he's not going to be super agile. He's like super muscular. However, you know, if he is going to have a minimal amount of joints, you know, you want them all to count. It's, in all honesty, like, shooting these action shots became increasingly frustrating, all right? He just kept on falling because of those hip joints. I just wish Super 7 could iron this problem out already. Like, it's been a while now, and I don't know, it seems like every time you'll get an action figure where the joints get better, they feel nice and stiff, and then you'll get one that's just like, I don't know, all out of whack. It's like you can never get ahead or something. And then NECA has the complete opposite problem, where they have a ton of points of articulation, so you can get them into these crazy poses, but most of the times they're too stiff, and then, you know, you'll risk breaking an arm or something like that. So, like, I can recommend this dude, but that recommendation comes with a big asterisk, all right? Like, visually, everything is top-notch. Perfect if you just want him, I don't know, lined up on your shelf next to your other guys. But, you know, if you want him to get in those crazy poses or action poses or whatever you want to do with them, you're going to have to work for it. But once you get him nice and stabilized, you know, it's worth it. And now, accessories. So Ray Fillet has a nice assortment of accessories, and most of them are included on this very awesome weapons rack. You know, it really bums me out that Wave 6 will be the last wave with weapons racks because I just think they're awesome. You know, in my opinion, they're a very cool, creative way for sculptors to put all these items together with a nice theme. You know, like all of these old items like Scarfish and the Ray Gill gun are all connected to this brand newly sculpted rope attached to this anchor. And I just think that's cool. You know, I think it's neat. I like how, you know, all of the other non-turtle characters have these cool little themed weapons racks. And I'm going to be sad when they're gone. So this is neat, you know. Unlike the anchor and rope that was included here separately, this one has some nice seaweed sculpted onto the rope, which is cool. My Ray Gill gun is broken. The lobster tail has broken off the end here. I can super glue it, I guess. But this is also nice because as I'll show you with the regular Ray Gill gun, I feel like the paint on that is like way too thick and you can't see some of the details. And this orange version, the details all look fine, you know. They're very easy to see. The other one is just way too dark, in my opinion. But, you know, Scarfish, there's nothing really else to say about that. And the anchor is just okay, you know. So let's move on. Up next, this very awesome looking anchor. Now, this is great. You know, this is another brand new item. The last brand new item included with Ray Fillet. And I like this a lot. I love the metallic silver paint on the anchor. You know, maybe it would have been cool if they would have scraped it up a little bit to try to make it look like maybe Ray Fillet, you know, picked it up off the floor of the ocean or something, but it's fine. You know, it's still a very nice metallic looking anchor. And I really love the rope too. This very nice golden thread. I've never sewn or crocheted or and what's really neat about it is you can actually fit it in Ray Fillet's hands. Now Ray Fillet comes with two different sized gripping hands. He comes with one that's a tighter grip, and he comes with one that has a bigger grip. So here he is smashing a foot soldier with that anchor, and man, he looks awesome with that. It kind of reminds me of a Thumpback from Skylanders. You know, that my son collects. Hail to the whale! So here's the Ray Gill gun. I think this is supposed to be a pneumatic spear gun, which means it uses air pressure to fire the spear. You know, if it wasn't, it probably would have had some kind of rubber band sculpted on there. What really kind of tips it off for me is that it looks like there's a little bit of an air tank here connected to some tubing. Super7 did a really good job of copying all the original details. Like the texture of the handle looks the same. It has a trigger. Right here, like this part right here to me looks like it's supposed to be coral or a shell or something like that. And then on the underside you have this lobster tail, which looks very nice. It looks like they have all the same exact segments, although it's just a little, I don't know, the original one is more dynamic or something like that. This is a very uniform. But yeah, it looks good. The fins of the manta ray look a little different. And you know, I'm a little suspicious of these fins. Like, where did he get these? Like, why would Ray Fillet attach manta ray fins to his spear gun? Yeah, so I was a little upset last year for a couple months after Mom died unexpectedly. Oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's okay though. We had a little thing for her at St. Andrew's Cathedral, and then we buried her next to my dad and her mother, just like she always wanted. You know, that's nice. I know how you feel though. My mom died last year too. Really? Did you do anything special for her? Well, I sawed her in half and superglued her to my spear gun. Dear God. Before she died, she said she'd always be there. I just made sure that she wasn't lying. Goodness gracious, what a macabre manta ray. So, you know, the details look nice on this, but I also think that Super7 kind of dropped the ball here with the color, because the color of this does not look very appealing. Like, I know black and orange are Halloween colors, and that's all good, but here it just kind of doesn't, it doesn't work well together. It's like the contrast is dialed up to 100, you know? And this dark is, or this black is so dark that if you look at this in regular room light, like, you can't make out any of the details. Like, I can only really see it now because I have these harsh lights on top of it. So I just think they, I don't know. I feel like they could have picked better colors. In my opinion, what they should have done was maybe color this a brighter color. And then instead of leaving this orange, like, it doesn't have to be orange just because the original toy was orange. You could have made that like a gray. And then you could have made the lobster tail gray to make it sort of look, I don't know, sort of close to how lobster tail looks before you cook it. And then you should have left the spearhead gray. Like, because right now, it looks like the spear and the actual spear gun are all just one piece. There's nothing here to make them look like they're, you know, different pieces put together. It really could have used some color. The original Ray Fillet could hold his Ray Gill gun just fine, like so. It kind of seems like he should be able to hold the, like, for extra support, hold on to that lobster tail, but no, he can't do that. And neither can the brand new Ray Fillet, but he can hold this gun with this awesome trigger finger hand, like so. All right. Now, of course, the wrist here is getting a little loose, and you know, you can prop it up, but if you bump it, it's going to tilt, or it's going to tip over. So try to force that thing up a little bit. Try to get it to stay the right direction. Up next, you have Scarfish, and this is awesome. I love this brand new Scarfish. I love the paint, the yellow eyes, the deep, dark mouth. It looks like, I don't think there's any like a tongue painted in there, but the orange kind of gives the illusion that there is a tongue behind those teeth. I don't know. I think that's fantastic. That is a wonderful little upgrade. And what is he supposed to do with this? Is this like a weapon? Does he toss this at people and then maybe this thing starts biting him? Or is he just like a little buddy who kind of hangs out with Ray Fillet? I don't know, but I like how all the limbs are, you know, they're tilted the way the original one was. It's, like I said, it's really nice when you get an item like this that was never colored back in the day. You have to look at it in special directions of light so you can actually make out the details, but now they're just all out there and painted and in your face. So that is all for Scarfish. Very cool. If you want your Ray Fillet to hold Scarfish, he can do it, but I would suggest that he doesn't because it looks like Scarfish is going to bite his thumb right off. And last, but certainly not least, you have Fish Sticks. And again, just like Scarfish, I love this. I love how you get these old like little partners or buddies or whatever you want to call them now fully blown up and completely colored. You know, he looks great. I love the strap here around the dynamite switch. You know, that's great. I love his little goggles, his crazy mouth-filled teeth. Now, what's kind of interesting is they painted the, like, there's not an actual gap between the strap and his body and this box here. It actually is filled in with plastic that they painted red. That, you know, I don't know how... It's not in your face. Maybe they could have painted it black just to try to maybe make it look more like a shadow. It's fine. I don't care. Turn this guy to the side. And he just has all this dynamite strapped to his back. That is just hilarious. The pattern of the dynamite isn't the same as it used to be, but I don't care. It just looks awesome. Like, the original one also didn't have all the fuses connected to all the different pieces of dynamite, and here you have all these very nicely painted fuses going from the dynamite to the front of them. And then, of course, you have the alarm clock up there. I don't know. It's great. The original one has this little crack or hole in the helmet. And this guy has that too. So I don't know. I like this guy too. I'm excited to get more of these little buddies. Now, what's cool about this brand new Fish Sticks here too is he has 1 point of articulation. his head can turn. You can't turn it very far this direction, though, because the helmet stops or gets stopped by the clock, but this way is fine. Yee! Man, it's like I'm starting an army of little buddies here. Look at this. I love these guys. I don't know. One of the things I love about this line is just when they take all those, those things that we wish could have been painted back in the day, and they finally paint them. Like, these guys look great next to each other. All right, next up, Ray Fillet has 3 sets of hands, all right? He's got these bigger gripping hands that I showed you before. He can hold his Ray gill gun. He can hold Scarfish with these. They have a vertical hinge. And I guess he could also hold the rope to the anchor. That's good. But then you also have another set of gripping hands that have a smaller grip. I guess so you can hold Scarfish a different way. Will these hold the gun? Like, the bigger gripping hands actually have trigger fingers, but this one doesn't. You can still fit the Ray gill gun in this hand. These also do not have a vertical hinge. They have a horizontal hinge. So I guess it'd be better if you're like, want to point a certain direction with your Ray gill gun. And then he also has a set of fists for pounding on the foot. Now, I do want to point this out. This guy has been very tricky when exchanging the hands. For some reason, that joint in there is very stiff and, just does not want to let the hands go once they are in there. And you could push the hands in, and sometimes you'll get to a certain point where you think that where it needs to be to stop, but then you'll notice a little bit of a gap between the hand and the wrist. So you just got to keep on pushing past that until you get a nice flush-looking hand to forearm right there, all right? The last body part included here is this extra Ray Fillet head. Now, this is great because this head is just ferocious looking. Like, this is an angry Ray Fillet. Like, this is the kind of head you want on Ray Fillet whenever he just witnessed his buddy Bubba, the Glublub, get shot to death by Kid Terra. I think I pronounced those names right. Removing the old head is easy. Putting on the new one, probably just as easy. We'll see. There we go. Man, angry. Recently on YouTube, I mentioned in a post that I was currently working on a Ray Fillet Ultimates action figure, and Raz Rentals regular, Dale, told me that the heads were molded out of the yellow plastic, like the body, right? He said that he could actually see some bleeding through the eyes. And I looked at both of my heads, and I couldn't find like any hints of yellow underneath that. But I could definitely tell that this is definitely painted this color. Like, it looks very thick, and it just has that sort of flat painted look, much like his shoulders and the neck. It looks very different than like the torso, where you can tell that that is definitely molded that color yellow, or the arms are definitely molded this blue, and then that yellow and orange is painted on top. So I tried scraping the bottom of his head, the places where you don't see with a piece of metal to see if I could get down to any yellow, but I don't know. I couldn't dig down deep enough, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to scrape it that bad. So here's Ray Fillet next to a bunch of the Super 7 Ultimates action figures. I thought, just by looking at him, for some reason, I just thought he was going to be taller, but Casey Jones is taller than him. He's just slightly taller than the Ninja Turtles. But what he lacks in height, he makes up for in bulk, because, man, he is so wide, and he's got those huge fins on his back. Here's the whole 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wave. And for me, this was the best year of characters. Like, I loved the super gross guys, and I don't know, they just really seemed spontaneous and exciting this year for some reason. And now here are some of them in the Ultimates form. For me, every single one of these guys is a must-have, and I can't wait to get the inevitable Pizza Face, Napoleon Bonafrog, Fugitoid, and fingers crossed, Panda Khan, like Super 7. Reach out to Monica Sharp and Dave Garcia right away. Thankfully, we know that the Triceratons are coming, and man, this week, Super 7 announced their Wave 9 pre-order, which includes Wingnut and Screw Loose. They look fantastic. And can you believe it? Scumbug. Finally. You know, I've been asking for this figure since the toy line began, way back when. You know, I cannot wait to get these dudes. Here's Ray Fillet next to some of NECA's Fred Wolf Ninja Turtle action figures. And, you know, he looks pretty cool next to them, but he just, stylistically, he just doesn't fit in. Hopefully NECA eventually releases Ray, the guy who should have been Ray Fillet. Here they are next to some of the recent Playmates Classics action figures. I don't know. I'm just not feeling these guys anymore. I keep on seeing like those Stranger Things Ninja Turtle 2-packs at Target, but I just have no interest in them. All right, so now it's time to do the ultimate compare. This is where I compare this Super 7 Ultimates to every single Ray Fillet action figure that came before this. Man, I can't wait. Ray Fillet was such a fan favorite character. I'm sure he has some super awesome toys, right? So let's begin with the original 1990 Ray Fillet action figure. We've already discussed this guy, you know, compared him as much as we possibly could to this brand new one. And after that, that's pretty much it. What a disappointment, all right? There is a brand new NECA Ninja Turtles Archie Ray Fillet action figure coming out soon. I think I have him pre-ordered on Big Bad Toy Store already. I don't remember if he's been solicited or not, but that's it. Can you believe this? Can you believe Ray Fillet never made any appearances in the 2003 cartoon? I mean, that makes sense since that cartoon is based on the Mirage comic books, but he never showed up in the 2012 cartoon and never had a toy in that series either. Like, the 2012 show did everything they possibly could to cram as much nostalgia into that show as possible. You know, like, I cannot believe they left out Ray Fillet. Like, other than the original 1990 action figure and the Archie comics, I mean, he only showed up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Tournament Fighters, and then he's in the IDW comic books now, and that's it. Like, that's lame. And in the IDW comic books, he doesn't even look like him. And granted, a lot of those guys look different, but I mean, he looks really, really different. So as I said before, you know, I have the color changing Ray Fillet action figure. And, you know, after reading a thing on the internet, I might be a little wrong about this. Originally, he might come in like the colors. And then when you do the color change, it's supposed to, I don't know. I think that maybe this is faded and it's not actually supposed to be white like this, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's been like sun damaged or heat damaged or something like that. But I'm going to put him in some cold water and see what happens. There's some water, and let's see what happens. All right, so my color changing ability does not work. I'm going to have to try to get a better one. You failed me, Ray Fillet. You failed me. You made me look bad. And that's it. I can't believe it, but I'm finally finished with this Ray Fillet Ultimates review. Now all I got to do is review 30 more Ninja Turtle toys and I'll be all caught up. So, you know, this guy is cool looking, but the joints are just, they're very much a problem. You know, even as I was making the video, like the ankle starting to loosen and stuff, you know, it's a very big problem that I really wish Super 7 could fix already. So, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and talk to you later.